Welcome to GNCC's Espresso Live from the Corner Office, where we bring you conversations with top leaders and executives who are shaping industries, communities, and driving innovation. Today, we're thrilled to have a distinguished guest joining us, Wade Stayzer, COO of Meridian Credit Union, the largest credit union in Ontario and second largest in Canada. He oversees the organization's retail, wealth, and business banking lines of business, as well as operations and facilities. With 26 years at Meridian, Wade's leadership reflects a people-first and customer-centric approach, having managed various lines of business, including commercial, small business, retail banking, and wealth. Previously, as Chief People and Culture Officer, Wade championed employee health and well-being, leadership and development, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Throughout his career, Wade has held a number of community leadership roles, including Chair of the Board of Family and Children's Services and the GNCC, Director of the Niagara Community Foundation, and Trustee for Niagara Health System. He recently served as Treasurer of the Niagara 2022 Canada Games Host Society. Wade, we're excited to have you here with us today. And Thank you. As October is Small Business Month, we are pleased to start this webinar with some opening remarks from Jeff Bentley, Senior Small Business Advisor at Meridian Credit Union. Jeff, over to you.
Thank you, Mishka. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Bentley, Senior Small Business Advisor with Meridian here in Niagara. Meridian is proud to be your local partner for banking here in Niagara and all across Ontario. So in Niagara, we have 14 branches here. I work alongside our small business team, and we work directly with our business members. Our partnership with the OCC and also the GNCC started back in 2021. We have an exciting promotion there where all chamber members, there's free banking for a year and also 30% off your fees going forward. Through our affinity program, there's also great benefits for your employees who also decide to become members of Meridian. In terms of our business banking, we try to offer personalized solutions based on what you need to run your business or organization smoothly. We offer everything from traditional financing options to our specialized programs. In terms of credit, we have a team of underwriters that adjudicate our deals. So it's not just everybody has to fit into a specific box. You know, if your story makes sense, we want to try and help as much as we can. As part of our small business month, I just want to touch upon our big impact awards that are underway. We have 150,000 in prizes that are allocated, where two 50,000 first place awards will be given to businesses that are making a big impact in their community and also making a difference in the environment as well. Nominations are open now until the end of October, so we encourage everybody to visit our website, nominate a business you think that is making a big impact. If anybody has any questions or you're simply looking to learn more about Meridian, what we can offer, what we're all about, don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to have that conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And thank you for all that you do, that Meridian does actually for small business. We're really, so many of our businesses, so many of our members, as you know, over 90% across Canada and in Niagara are small businesses. And we really rely on you and your organization for supporting them. So thank you for all that you do.
Good job, Jeff.
Very good. Today's format is an interactive one. It's a Q&A format throughout the next 30 minutes to an hour. And for those of you who would like to ask Wade some direct questions, please utilize the chat function. I will take a look at them, and we're truly committed to getting to all the questions. This session is being recorded because we find the highest uptake actually takes place afterwards, as so many of our schedules might not allow for some of you to tune in. Please know it is available through all of our social media channels, daily updates, YouTube, and others for you to watch afterwards as well. And lastly, if you who are in attendance here today would like to enable live transcript, you can find that option on your Zoom screen. If you're running into any tech difficulties, just please utilize the chat function and one of my colleagues will help you out. So thank you for being with us. So when we started promoting this particular webinar today, we looked at the questions that were coming in. And when I looked at them, I thought they fit into kind of 4 buckets. The first one is that there's a lot of interest in Wade's personal leadership journey, then some maybe career highlights that are key, that stand out, Wade, in your mind, and that you can stand by, your community involvement, because you're such a community leader, and your future goals. And then at the same time, we're going to wrap up the webinar with some one-answer rapid questions at the end, or just maybe some fun questions that give us a little bit more insight into you and some of the things that motivate you on your own journey. But let me start out by saying congratulations on a remarkable career.
Thank you.
And when you look back, can you tell us about the key moments or experiences that shaped your journey to becoming a COO?
Yeah, thanks, Mishka. And appreciate the question, and appreciate all of the attendees. I even see somebody I used to go to university with within the attendees. So thanks for joining, Jeff. Yeah, so I did a very broad Bachelor of Commerce. Jeff also did that Bachelor of Commerce degree, and came out of university and went into property management actually. And I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do, but I needed to get some experience. And so when I joined Meridian, I had the opportunity, and turns out to be a key enabler for my career, of having a really broad first role. I joined as a trainer on our banking system conversion, and I had zero banking experience. So I was able to to ask lots of dumb questions in the spirit of not having any experience, and help me to understand right across the entire business. I actually wrote the teller manual, and I can still navigate within that system today. And people are like, "Wow, you're not supposed to be able to do that." But I understand how the system works, and so because everything within a financial institution funnels through there, I got to touch all of the areas in the organization. So it's really breadth is the first message. Then I had the opportunity to lead our first merger outside of Niagara, which was a significant step for then Niagara Credit Union, and then integrate the operations of that credit union back into Niagara. I've led all of our lines of business at some point in my career, and delivered. And so obviously I've been successful within each of the lines of business to be considered for a chief operating officer role. And most of my friends, look at me with a dumb look on their face when I told them that I was going to be the head of HR, the chief people and culture officer. But it was definitely an asset for me, and I think for the organization too, to have a sales leader in that role for a short 2-year stint. So I think those would be the key experiences broadly, Mishka, that help me to be in a good position to do what I'm doing now.
I really appreciate it. And it's really interesting when I listen to you, Wade, it resonates with some similar conversations we have had here with other stakeholders and individuals in the community that also actually often speak about the broad experience that led them to then this particular position that they've had. And the sense of being open to other opportunities that are having, maybe even open to opportunities that are, as you had mentioned, outside of your maybe immediate knowledge, but allowed you to learn and explore and then find out where your strengths lies in it. It actually very much resonates with a similar interview that we held with the president of the Airbus helicopters recently too. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
We need inspiration as we pursue a career, and especially probably a career in finance, and specifically in the credit union sector. What was your inspiration when you looked at this organization, when you looked at the sector and saying, like, here are things where I can align myself, that align with who I am?
Yeah, I mean, those that know me know that I'll be a bit provocative, and I'll say, in your first career, I'm not so sure that there's a whole lot of inspiration that happens. I think you grow into inspiration. But, at the time I was working in government housing, and to be honest, those that know me well will know that type of bureaucracy and waste would suck the life out of me, and it was sucking the life out of me. And I really wanted to put my business degree to work, right? I wasn't feeling like I was having an opportunity to do that. I was doing my MBA as well at the time. And then I remembered everything leads back to Niagara for me. And as a child, I had a Fat Cat account at the Waynfleet branch of the Niagara Credit Union. So that was, everything happens. I'm also a firm believer everything happens for a reason. And at that time, they were in need of somebody to come in and do some training on their banking system. And I had some training experience through my work at the university at Mac when I was there as a student. And so it lined up. I actually left a full-time job and joined on a contract with the commitment of, look, we're looking for good people. And if this organization meets your needs and we align, then I see no reason why after that you would not, be able to join as a full-time employee. I was making, I think I joined for $26,000 a year was my contract.
Wow. Wow. And you know what? You also speak about taking the risk actually and saying going from a secure full-time permanent position to a contract position, there's an element of risk involved in it.
Well, and you can only do it early in your career, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say only do it, but it's much easier to do earlier in your career. Didn't have any children, wasn't married yet, all of that sort of stuff, right? Which is, the other piece of advice I give people that say, yeah, I want to go back and do my master's, but I'm going to work for a little bit. And, I always say, be very careful of that, because once you start to work and you start to make money and you start to earn lifestyle, it's very difficult to then, that's just another piece that has to be factored in and another challenge.
Absolutely right. Yeah, totally right with this one. And I see it everywhere too. And I've personally experienced it too. But let me look at one aspect of you. You have a passion for live music and concerts. They influence you. You have a passion for those things. Do they influence your leadership style or approach to business? When we have some passion in our personal life, and then we're saying, is there a link between the two, or they're two separate buckets?
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's a link per se in how, specifically Mishka, but I will say that it's, your leadership style is who you are. I don't think that your leadership style is something that you can put on. I believe it's part of who you are and how you see the world and how you view interactions with people and all of those pieces, your values. It was funny. I was doing one of the leadership surveys, assessments. And for those on the webinar, I see a lot of live music. I am probably up to 20 concerts a year, and I travel, and it's a big piece. I've always got my headphones on when I'm walking, and in between meetings, my Sonos is on here. And this assessment actually said that you need live music to charge your soul. And it's the first ever assessment that I ever saw like that. But yeah, it said that it was really important to who I am as an individual. So
yeah, I think there's an energy when it comes to live performances. And I think there's an energy we bring forward when we run an organization at the same time. And so I see parallels in both of them, but I think you're absolutely right in saying we are one person. If we're at work or in our personal life, or if we pursue our passions, in the end, we show up as one whole person.
Well, and if not, then that's when you misrepresent, right?
Yes.
You can't, that's called a facade in my world.
Yeah, and mine too. How do your personal values align with the mission and values of Meridian Credit Union specifically? Meridian has evolved, like you had mentioned, their roots are the Niagara Credit Union that then became and evolved into Meridian Credit Union. How do they align? How do you, as a person, your own values align with the mission of that organization?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the simple answer, Mishka, is completely aligned, or I wouldn't be celebrating 27 years with the company. That said, though, there was a period where I felt that actually wasn't the case, and like anything through a long career, when I had first joined the org, well, I mean, so there were two phases: early on, and then probably within the last 10 years. The early on one was, I was young, I was opinionated, I was always right, all those good things, right? If there was a hill, I was going to die on it. And I joined a very patriarchal culture at that time. I keenly remember challenging the group about this exclusive event this branch manager golf event that they had. And I suggested that we needed to open it up to all employees. And I was told, easy with the bright ideas, rookie. So there's that piece of being a young person trying to enter. I shared this when I celebrated my 25th anniversary. It's the first time I've ever really talked about it with anybody. I only looked outside once, and it was a dark time in my career as I look back on it. I had a leader that I couldn't respect. He was not a good leader or a good cultural fit for our organization. And it had gone so far that I was actually scheduled to meet with the board in the final step of a process. I remember, reflecting, and then I put in Wade words, I put my big boy pants on, and I decided that I needed to fight for what I had believed in and had committed my career to. At that point, it was probably just over, just short of 20 years. From a values perspective, I have zero tolerance for dishonest people who are only worried about their own accomplishments and success. Like it screams at me. So that obviously forms, a piece of who I am. But here's the silver lining though, Mishka. I'm a firm believer that karma always catches up. Okay. And that leader was actually exited for non-values aligned behavior in our organization. And I was appointed the new head of sales and service following that. So had I left, that decision would likely be in one of my, my biggest regrets buckets. So.
Yeah. Must have been hard during that period of time. It must have been hard also to give yourself the time to explore all options. I think that is, especially after having had a 20-year career already at Meridian Credit Union, and then coming to that point. I think those are difficult moments. In difficult moments, Wade, how do you make decisions? Who do you consult? How do you deal with those moments?
So, throughout my career, I have had to, I like to run. I like to run really fast. And so one of the key pieces for me is that I have to remember that not everyone runs at the same speed, nor wants to run at the same speed, nor not can everyone handle my direct, transparent approach. So Mishka, if you and I have a problem, I'm going to say, Mishka, I think you and I have a problem. Let's talk that through. There are some people that really can't handle difficult conversations, and so I've had to learn that over the years. But when I'm guided, it always comes back to my values. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Obviously I have a strong support network of friends and family, and there's a few, I won't name them, but there's a few that I'll lean on if I'm, struggling with a difficult decision. I'm also lucky as an executive that, I have an external coach that is outside of the organization that is there to assist me with any of those types of quandaries that I may have. The further up you go in an organization, the lonelier it is. And so you have to find those folks that, that you can lean on. Here's the other piece. Is as a leader, and I think this is for all leaders, but as a leader, one word carries much more significance than you might think to folks that are 3, 4, 5 levels down below. And so you have to be really measured and careful around, how you are presenting yourself and even the words that you're using.
Yeah, it is so true, actually. And it's always interesting because we can't actually ever 100% understand or see how another person takes it in. We can only assume and guess with the best intentions that we bring forward. But it was really good to hear, Wade, from you to also saying that you have a group of individuals, if it's through family or personal friends or others, that you can lean on, that you can run ideas by, that might hold you accountable in certain ways too. And I think the same happens with a leadership coach too. I think that we really are understanding that we're continuously growing, we're continuously learning. It doesn't matter what title we have, but if we have a commitment to that, I think we can actually achieve more things than we actually maybe have thought in beforehand. And I think some of the proudest moments sometimes that we have are the most darkest and difficult moments that we have in our careers, and how we can actually overcome them when we look back and what learning has taken place, not
Yeah.
just for us, but for us, the team and the group as a whole as well. If you shift a little bit from your personal path that you've done over to your career and spend a moment with looking at what are some of your proudest achievements during your time at Meridian Credit Union. And I think for every person in any role, they're very different, but I would love to hear what yours are.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, obviously, I am proud of my career success and achievements and what that has enabled for me and my family and lifestyle and the opportunities that I've had. But I'm, if I had to pick one from an organizational perspective, I think it would be the role that we play in the Niagara community. So whether that's from our naming rights of important community gathering places, to the many leadership roles that people play in, that Meridian employees play in or on community boards. I firmly believe as a leader, it's your role to lead the way and then get out of the way. And so that, I hope that my community engagement in Niagara has inspired others to do the same thing within our organization and elsewhere. I'm admittedly not as active as I used to be, but it was a very important piece of, just because my role now doesn't allow me to have some of that flexibility. But early days, yeah, I was out a significant amount of time and enjoyed every minute of that. And I think we went through a period where there was a shift in how we viewed the importance of community engagement, and it was before I was in the C-suite. And to be quite honest, we had diverted from what was at our essence and at our DNA, and our employees were feeling it, the community was feeling it. And so when I was in charge of sales and service and community, it was a very concerted effort to get back into community where we had been before. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about what that means for us as an organization. But the feedback I received was very telling for me, and a good learning opportunity was it was noticed, and they were glad to have us back, so to speak. But we went through a period of probably a good year and a half where I don't look back on proudly, but it was there.
Yeah, I think when I look at Meridian Credit Union, and I think you're absolutely right with your roots that you have in Niagara, but your community involvement, that of individuals from your organization, that to naming rights, to big buildings and places that bring community together. And when I see your leadership team sitting at the tables, the board tables, and where key decisions are being made, I think your community involvement is felt within this region. And we are really deeply thankful for it, because we hear about it on a regular basis and it's being deeply acknowledged. And probably to a certain point, maybe even a bit expected at this point.
Well, and that's I'm glad you raised that, Mishka, because sometimes it's challenging to say no. And the last thing we want is, so we've taken the view, we will jump in and we will work as a partner, but that will end. And now we're being even more clear that this isn't a forever thing, right? So we want to be able to spread our efforts, our dollars across the entire community. And so those can sometimes be tough discussions, but they're for good reason to say, we've done our piece here, and now there are other organizations and opportunities that we also want to be able to support.
Yeah. And I think that is good to see in the community too, because overall it's still fulfilling your community involvement that you have. But looking back at the 20 plus years that you have had in the credit union sector, it has evolved, that sector. In Ontario, it has evolved and changed in Canada since you began your career. how have you adapted to these changes? Are you excited about the changes, the roles that credit unions play, not just only as being community builders and contributors, but in so many other ways as well with your members and the services you offer and even the market share and the growth that you have seen?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll give a bit of a guidepost. So when I joined Niagara Credit Union, I celebrated our $1 billion in assets mark. So that was when the first year and change in my career. We're now at 30 billion plus. I also have a different opportunity. So I sit on the CCUA board, which is the Canadian Credit Union Association. So it's a trade association for credit unions across the country. Your question around how have we evolved and what have we seen and how have we adapted is a bit of a tough one. And I'll be blunt. I don't think the credit union system has evolved as much as it needs to. And so, there's a significant period of amalgamation happening right now. And that's why we have the big and we have really small credit unions, really. So we have credit unions in the country and in Ontario that are smaller from an asset perspective than one of our branches from perspective. And so that's really, really challenging, especially, in times of increasing regulation, fraud, AML, there's, digitization. Your customers are asking you to ensure that you are able to provide those services, online. And we have generally in the credit union sector, generally an older membership. The question around how have we adapted, in hindsight, our focus really early days for Niagara growing through mergers has been critical to, the strength of our organization and being able to do what we do in the communities that we serve. It's for us as the second largest in the country and the largest in Ontario, we honestly don't benchmark against the credit union system. Credit unions are not our competitors. There's enough business out there for all of us to have an opportunity to contribute. We really focus on, sort of big banks and fintechs at this point based on our size.
That makes sense, actually. For a young professional who's aiming to build a career in this financial service industry, doesn't just need to be credit unions, just the sector as a whole. Any particular advice that you would give them?
I think it goes back to our discussion around breadth, right? And finding something that that you're interested in, and I would say in any industry, like you need to look for and be open to opportunities that are going to broaden you. So let's put a pin in that for sure. Second would be, and this is broader advice, but you own your career, nobody else. You own your career, and you need to continue, to put your hand up for challenging assignments. And to take a long-term focus. It's not always just about the money. The money is nice, but you need to be taking more of a longer-term view on opportunities that are provided to you. And you don't need to be promoted within a year, right? So be realistic. The best way to be noticed in an organization and to be promoted is to be focused on being the best damn advisor, best damn teller, whatever that is that you're in. I see far too many young people looking way ahead before they've actually mastered what's right in front of them. And so, when I have the opportunity, that's always the feedback I'm getting is, and it's funny, I had a baseball coach, which is the analogy that I used. We were playing baseball as young kids, and there was, the umps weren't going our way, and the calls weren't going our way, and there was a bit of whininess on the bench, and and the coach said, "Look, you guys, quit whining. Go up to the plate and talk with your stick, which is your bat, right?" So my advice to young professionals is show me, don't tell me, right? Talk with your stick. And if you are adding value and you are achieving, you will be noticed.
Yeah.
And the last one, the really, I guess, probably the most important piece, is if you don't believe in the mission or purpose of the organization you work for, then find one that you do.
I think that's a great advice. And I also do like your quote actually about saying and reminding young people that they own their own career. I think sometimes we feel, and so many individuals, especially starting out in their career, don't have the sense of it. But I think if you look at it through those eyes, I think you likely will be more courageous also in making some decisions that you otherwise maybe wouldn't have made.
No one owes you anything, Mishka.
That's
no
right.
one owes you anything.
Yeah, absolutely right. We had spoken a little bit about community engagement and knowing how important it is to you personally and to Meridian Credit Union. I want to just ask you, how do you ensure that your organization remains connected to and supportive of local community? And I'm asking that question specifically is because so many organizations and people who will be listening to this webinar are continuously asking themselves, how do we stay connected? How do we stay supportive? How do you ensure that your organization remains that community engagement?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. I would say, to summarize, it's about being clear in our organization that it's an expectation to give back to community if you work for Meridian. So that's the first piece. For me, it's very much about walking the walk. It's in our DNA. So it has to be broad-based. So if we're going to emphasize community engagement, right? And I say this respectfully, our large competitors in the Big Five talk about community involvement and community engagement. And there are great people that work at the banks, and they are out, and they are just like Meridian employees are out trying to be engaged. They're not as supported by their organization. There are no as much dollars given to do that. There's not any of the flexibility, right? For it to be broad-based, you've got to make sure that you're walking the walk. So you're doing community stuff when you get the opportunity, that you are allowing employees to do that, and that you are highlighting when they're doing good work, right? So it's a whole piece.
I agree with you. And I think today's, from what we're learning about the young leaders entering the workforce, they're looking for that. They're looking for the meaning and particular initiatives that align with their values. And because no one leaves their values at home when they go to work. And how does
one and the same?
It's one and the same, and makes a difference. Particular projects or initiatives that made a significant impact on the community in your eyes that you would like to share?
Yeah, there are a number, and there have been a number over the years. So, I also don't want to not include something, but I would say in most recent would be, our Niagara-based employees jumped on board with the YMCA and the Period Promise. So, they're out when there's opportunities to use our branch distribution to collect and engage with community for the greater good. Then that's one. So I know that one has had a significant impact on that initiative in our organization. I'm particularly pleased over the years with our community care partnership in Niagara and how strong that has been. Whether it's through we did things around construction, but it's engaging of the community and not just our own individual employees. So and we speak with both our volunteer efforts there. We've had folks on the board. We've also ensured that they were provided with financial resources when we had and could. Jeff mentioned our Small Business Big Impact Awards. That's fairly recent, but it's giving us an opportunity really to highlight those organizations that are committed to doing good in our community, and in alignment with our Meridian for Good strategy. Sponsorship of Celebration of Nations, although that the event doesn't exist any longer, but our focus on supporting the local Indigenous community and the Native Friendship Centers, but ultimately I would say it's a significant number of smaller sponsorships. So donations, our people being actively engaged, as I mentioned earlier, we don't just throw a check. When we are engaged in something in community, our people are on the ground, they're organizing, they're volunteering, and they're rolling up the sleeves. And I think that's actually the bigger impact.
I couldn't agree more, because when I look around the community as a chamber, we engage with a high number of initiatives throughout Niagara, and the number of people from Meridian Credit Union that are at the table, that are at the event, that are participating, that are volunteering, that are giving their time is extraordinary to observe. So
yeah, when I hear Meridians everywhere, that makes me smile. It's exactly on purpose.
Yeah, I think so too. Looking at your future goals, we were going to look at that. If you personally look ahead, and this is looking not through the eyes of Meridian Credit Union, but you personally, what are some of your key priorities over the next 5 years?
Okay, so Mishka, you didn't ask me one of the favorite questions. You jumped right over it, which was, so before I go to that question, I'm going to go back to this one because I think it's an important message. It was around, someone who's not personally involved in community. What's your advice for them? And here's my advice. First of all, please do something, young people, right? I don't want to be one of those, my generation guys that talks about when I was this age. But I honestly feel today that a lot of young people are sitting on the sidelines, either waiting to be asked or worried about how this is going to impact their personal time. You need to look at community service as an opportunity for growth and for building your network, as well as doing good. It's an investment in your community and yourself. So if you want to get, you need to give. Find something you're passionate about and roll up your sleeves. Now you can go on to the next question.
Actually, I appreciate you going to that particular one, because we have, even within the chamber here, we have our Next Niagara group, and we notice often like they're engaged, there are individuals that are engaged, that are continuously reaching out to the community, get more young people involved. So if you are a attendee participant today or watching this and are interested in it, I actually really encourage you to get involved and also to reach out to us in case not to specifically get engaged with the GNCC, but looking at opportunities that exist in making a difference. And
it's a great place to start, Mishka, right? So it's about, you only get one opportunity to build a network, right? And you do that when you're early in your career.
Yeah, and I think this is a key point to it, is actually the network that you build through it and the opportunities that you will be exposed to that otherwise you might not see. And it links back to our earlier question that we had, how important it is actually to have broad experience, not just in our sector specifically, but broad experience, also broad range of individuals that actually we allow to shape us and that we down the road are assisting and mentoring as well. And on that note.
Okay. Now go to your next question.
My questions, what are your key priorities over the next 5 years? This is looking at you, Wade, to a lesser degree at Meridian Credit Unions.
Okay. So I'm going to do a bit of both. In a Meridian context, it's really around the future of banking and advice and digitization and scalability. So, I think those apply to all organizations, take out banking, but it's around, what's the future of our business and the advice or service we provide, the impact of digitization and how do we scale this business, significant impacts around AI and how we do our work, and challenges with, workforce and until the government gets its act together around what, immigration is going to be, there's going to be some challenges around that. For me specifically over the next 5 years, so it's obviously helping to deliver on those pieces in our organization. It's a significant time of transformation.
Yeah.
But as I look at me from a chief operating officer and also as an individual with a role, I want to make sure that I'm continuing to provide the strategic foresight for our organization and for our sales and service delivery individuals so that they can do what they do best on the front line. I firmly believe, and that the credit union system, I'll use Meridian in general because not all credit unions are created equal, but it really is a hidden gem. And switching financial services is a real challenge for people, but we do operate differently. We do put people at the center, and it's profit for people versus profit over people. And so, I guess that's my little bit of a plug. I didn't think I was going to go there, but I just did. So if you're looking for something different, there is actually something different out there. Most people today just don't think that really exists. So as an aside note, if you've seen any of our new branding and new ads, you'll find out that it's very, very different. And my daughter, when she heard it, said, it's kind of really creepy and jarring music. It was quite on purpose, right? We're trying to get people's attention that there's something different. And then, of course, so I'm 54, and over the next 5 years, it's funny. I'm now looking at when might I not be working, and lots of my friends will say, "Oh, there's no way you're going to hang on forever," and actually, I'm not. When the numbers are right that I have in my mind for a goal, I'm going to go and open that door and go through that door, because I believe working is one piece of your world, but there's so much more, right? You work to live or live to work. I'm in the I want to work to live camp. And here's my advice to anybody: if your definition of sense of self is about where you work, you better shift that, right? Because once you leave and you're not relevant in that workplace anymore, you're not going to matter. Yeah. It really hit home for me. There was a colleague that passed away who was very, very popular, and very, very well known, and went to the funeral, and the church was half full, right? It wasn't the personal connection that this individual maybe thought, the personal impact that he had. So anyway, I'm a little preachy there.
No, actually, I agree with you, because I have always noticed when you change employers, when you move around between companies, and you think you're so busy with one, have that whole network, and the day after, you're actually less relevant to the decisions that need to be made into their life. As you're looking forward, maybe of saying when the time is right, what legacy do you hope to leave behind?
Yeah, I want to be remembered for the positive impact that I had on community, obviously. But I think seeing the growth and development of my people is a really close second. I have some folks that have worked very closely with me and have been in the organization as long as I have, and now work for me directly. I get a lot of pleasure out of watching them grow and lead and develop. And ultimately, it's about leaving the organization a better place than when I joined it. So,
yeah, and I think that is a great legacy actually to leave behind. If you take one step back,
yep.
I'm asking you because you have been such a critical community builder and leader at the same time. When you look at Niagara specifically, and I know your role is bigger than Niagara, but just looking at our region, what do you see as being the biggest unrealized opportunity in Niagara right now at this time?
Mishka, that's a really hard question. It's not a hard question at all, actually. And most of the business community lines up behind this answer, which is, leadership and integration. Speaking with one voice, both politically and in business. We're seeing some movement there, but it takes an awful long time, and it only takes one politician who is more interested in themselves than the region as a whole, and we've got some of those. The number of politicians in Niagara and the number of chambers of commerce are just two examples, but they're big examples. So we've made some movement. We still have a long, long way to go, speaking with one voice.
Yeah. Yeah, we as a chamber have always seen it as being an opportunity too. We're seeing it in transportation. We're seeing some changes. We're seeing it in some areas where we are coming together, but collaboration is difficult for the best of us. And so I think the challenge is out there. At this point, I want to turn over to some of the rapid one answer questions. And honestly, you can give me more than one answer, but they're intended to be like the one word answer question. So
Mishka, you already know I don't take instructions well, so go ahead. But
I'm going to give it a try after all the years I've known you. I'm still optimistic here that maybe today is the day. So, as we're calling this the Espresso series, and probably conveys a little bit our love for coffee, are you a tea or coffee person?
Coffee to start, then tea, and lots of it.
Oh, good for you. What motivates you every day?
Getting up and doing something I'm passionate about with great people.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, which is from my grandmother. And then the second would be slow the F down.
They're both very good. And there too.
Yeah.
Favorite business book or author that you would
Yeah,
recommend?
to be honest, most of my business readings in the HBR or the Globe. I spend my reading energy on pleasure reading. I think I burned out my business reading light bulb when I did my MBA.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
We talked earlier about your love for live performances, your love for music. Do you have a favorite band?
Oh, absolutely. It's ELO.
Yeah.
Jeff Lynne's ELO. I just came back from Philadelphia, seeing 2 shows there because I couldn't make the Toronto one, and anyone that knows me personally knows that it's here on my shoulder, my first concert, and the album cover is right here.
Wow, that's excellent. Favorite song of theirs?
They're all favorite. All favorite.
Makes sense. What's the biggest strength as a leader?
I think, and my colleagues would say, it would be my candid, transparent, and direct style. If you work for me, you're never going to have to wonder what's he saying. Setting clear expectations. I really don't like to dance around anything.
Yeah, and having experienced you around the board table for many, many years, I can only second that. Morning person, night owl.
I'm an old guy, so I'm usually up around 4 to 4:30. So that means I can't burn the midnight oil.
Okay. Favorite community initiative you've been part of?
Yeah, there's been a lot, but if I had to pick one, it would be helping to deliver the 22 Canada Games and the transformative nature that had on our community from an infrastructure and an engagement perspective.
And you know what? Kudos to you and the team and people that have come together. Its financial success was extraordinary at the same time. And I think has really changed the Canada Games. Not only the change that happened here in this area of it, but I think it has changed it for future organizations that are hosting it. So your impact has been extraordinary. One word to describe the future of credit unions.
Hopeful, but cloudy.
Yeah, makes sense. Who is your biggest role model?
People are going to think I'm going to pick some big business guy. It's actually my grandmother. She was a baking business force from her really tiny kitchen. It was known as the Bank of Olga, her persona. In the community, if you were ever looking for a loan and you couldn't get it somewhere, you went to see my grandmother. And she was focused on every single penny.
Yeah, that is nice. That is really nice to hear. And this is one of my colleagues who has asked if I would ask this question. What are the socks you're wearing? What are the color, the patterns, or anything exciting that
I'm not wearing socks at all now because I'm work from home. So it's business on the top and party on the bottom.
Okay, that sounds good. Wade, usually when we wrap up these sessions, I usually would give you, in this particular case, another like a minute or some time to saying, like, is there anything that you wish we would have addressed, we didn't ask, that hasn't come forward that you would like to share and that you think has actually meaning to the people who are going to tap into this webinar?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I had to pull one comment out of our discussion, Mishka, it really is, we're blessed to live in a remarkable region with an amazing quality and standard of life. We do way too much whining in Niagara about things that you can't control. So focus on the things that you can control and make a difference. There is something for everyone in Niagara to take a leadership role in or to become a part of. And, as I always said to my kids, even like when you're in university or in high school, get involved, right? It's about your experience. It will actually make for a rich, fulfilled life. I've had an opportunity to serve as a Rotarian. I'm active with Wise Guys. And someone positions it that you're doing it for others. Yes, you're having an impact there for sure. but you're also helping yourself to grow, and there's some personal fulfillment that comes for it. So get involved. Young people, old people, get involved, do something productive.
Yeah. You know what? It's actually, I recently watched a documentary on centenarians, and all of them said what really kept them like motivated all along was the sense that actually they had purpose.
Yeah.
And each one of us actually has purpose. And when we get involved in things, we actually can live that purpose part of it. And so we can partially do it through work, but we can also do it in our volunteer activities. And we can also do it in our personal life. But it's the element of purpose that was driving force. And I thought it was good to hear. So Wade, on behalf of all of us, thank you so very much for spending this last hour with us. We really do appreciate it. I was so much looking forward to it. And I feel like it's a privilege that our paths and our career paths have crossed at numerous times over the last 10 years around that time. So thank you very much for that. My thanks also go to Meridian Credit Union for being the power behind so many things that GNCC does. And for everyone here who has been able to join us or is tuning in at another time, thank you for being part of us. And if you have any leaders or executives in this format that you think you would like to hear more about, let us know. We can be reached at info@gncc.ca, and we'd love to bring those individuals back to this particular Espresso series. So thank you.
Mishka, one comment. If there's someone on that's on the webinar or is watching it later and wants to reach out, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm happy to talk to anyone. If you're looking for some guidance or some advice, I'm happy to do that as well around community.
Thank you so very much. And thank you for your generosity actually of time and effort that you put into the individuals that are around us. It makes a community. So thank you for that.
Thank you, GNCC.
Thank you, Wade, and to everyone. Bye-bye.